Candace Owens has been having a moment, whether she's at Kanye West's fashion show wearing a White Lives Matter shirt, or she is going further to demonize trans people than any of the other conservative influencers in her sphere. She's trying to continue to make a name for herself in this space. And
don't forget her providing her husband with the assist to dupe Kanye into buying Parler.
Yeah.
I forgot about that for a second.
I mean, the masterstroke there.
Right. That's
his
that's
career,
the
and then have him buy your like third tier conservative social network.
And I'd
that's
imagine
being
so
kind
much
too with third tier. That's
so much of his
liquidity.
wealth too is tied up in that like Adidas deal for those sneakers, and now that's gone away, and all he has is just this steaming turd of a investment in Parler. Good job, Kanye West.
Oh, and then he showed up at Skechers with a crew, like a film crew and stuff with Skechers. People who watch Mad Men know it's a Jewish footwear
I did not know
company.
that. I didn't remember
Isn't that in Mad Men?
I don't know.
But yeah, wanting Skechers to take him on as a spokesperson.
Should have done
Skechers like
his research. Yeah.
I maybe he did do his research. Is the thing that concerns me.
He thought their slogan was "It's the SS." Thank you.
Yes, good. That was good. That was good. But anyway, so that's what her BFF is up to, and here she is speaking about how trans affirming care is worse than what the Nazis did with experimentation. And I should remind you guys,
interesting theme for her.
Yeah, she seems to go back to that a lot. I should remind you guys that one of the world's first trans clinics was a target of the Nazis. You can read about it in the Scientific American. Adolf Hitler was very interested and did exterminate queer people, homosexuals in general, and they were a target of his genocidal reign and many thousands of people died because of that. So this is completely counter-historical, but here she is.
So Matt Walsh is a Nazi. That's the idea, right? I thought it was actually the Nazis that were into experimentation. Pretty sure Hitler had a lot of experiments that were taking place. He experimented on twins. He experimented on children. So no, you are not on the right side of this issue. In fact, I would never, ever want somebody recording me supporting that. Radically supporting gender mutilation, gender reassignment surgery by another name. It is a stunning rebuke of our society that people don't recognize this as wrong. You know, it's incredible.
Who's she talking
that people can become such ideologues that they are.
So yeah, we just need to. So she's in London. Go back just a little. Like what is this? Some sort of like colorblind test that she's wearing, like with like the gray and the purple dots? Am I going crazy?
It is one of the ugliest shirts I've ever seen in my life. That's all I have to say about it. But it is. I don't understand.
It's just really weird that she's like just looking slightly off to this left if she's not actually talking to anybody. Like, remember that was it Michelle Malkin post State of the Union address?
No, not Michelle Malkin.
Bachman. Yeah, Bachman. Oh my god.
Oh my god. For a second, I was like, I don't remember that.
Yeah.
It's been a long time. Yeah, it reminded me of that. Just like she just seems even more like off kilter by like looking. Is not at a person. I thought she was being interviewed by somebody.
Yeah, I think that's the teleprompter not being perfectly aligned with the camera eye line problem.
Yeah. All right. Well, her characterization of gender affirming care is experimentation, which once you just look into the actual healthcare behind that, undercuts her entire argument.
Yeah, exactly. Like the idea that there's genital mutilation going on for children is just basically false. Like the guidelines are for social transitioning, and then maybe something like puberty blockers for kids who have undergone social transitions and feel comfortable in their new gender sort of identification enough to not want to go through puberty of the other gender. Like these aren't mutilations. This is actually like care.
And the good news is that Candace Owens is at least consistent on the topic of medical experiments on people who are maybe marginalized, which is why she spoke out about the reports about migrants being experimented on with different healthcare, I guess, what was it, hysterectomies and things like that. I'm glad she spoke out about that. Oh, wait.
Oh, right.
Yeah. did not.
Is a stunning rebuke of our society that people don't recognize this as wrong. You know, it's incredible that people can become such ideologues that they are
Pausers
committed
real
to
quick.
this as a...
You know who recognizes it as wrong was, as Emma said earlier, Adolf Hitler.
Mm-hmm.
It's a cult and it's a religion, right? They wake up every day and they say, I have to get down to the state capitol and I need to stand up to this man who's essentially saying what Matt Walsh is saying is allow children to grow up, right? Allow children to become adults. Or you're an adult, if you want to mutilate your own body, it's not really my business, right? It really is my business. But the idea that we should be...
Pause it for a second.
Yes, again, right.
Yeah, because we know that's bullshit. We know
Yep.
that's not it at all. They don't want trans people to exist. That's just the easy their easy way of explaining this away to their listeners and viewers who maybe be okay with the idea of an adult being able to choose what they do with their body. Freedom. Those people who actually believe that, the whole children thing that they push, that's their way of skirting that. But then we know how they feel about trans adults too.
Our colleague Jordan Peterson called the doctor that provided Elliot Page with his top surgery a butcher,
A criminal butcher.
butcher.
She said mutilation. I mean, to do that mutilation, I don't care. You're calling it a mutilation when it's care.
I mean, at the end of the day, this is just like Nazi propaganda. She's just actively running interference for Nazis. And by Nazis, you mean like literally Hitler and the Nazi state and what they did. She's, this is Holocaust revisionism. Just because it's not aimed at Jewish people doesn't mean it's not a problem. But, this is clearly what they're doing. And, Candace Owens knows better. The Ben Shapiro network knows better. But it's the people who watch this, and they don't feel the need to look it up. They don't feel the need to, this is readily available online. You can find this out. People scream it at them when they talk about it online. And, it's those people who will take this away and they will not realize that they're just like laundering Nazi propaganda when they talk to people outside in the outside world about it, until someone just like yells at them, like, you do know that that's just incorrect. If someone ever yelled at them, they'll just go around just not knowing how backwards this is. And, Kanye West is a victim of that. I guess, he's a victim of that too now. It's kind of disgusting that she used him as exit liquidity for Twitter scam, but it is what it is.
Yeah, we got more.
With the notion that is a lie, by the way. It is a lie to tell a child that they can pick their gender. It is a lie to make a man believe that if he gets breast implants, he's suddenly a woman, right? Despite the fact that we know that it is a lie, from the top to the bottom of our society and our culture, we are perpetuating this lie to the detriment of young children.
Okay.
She literally, I just want to point out, she literally just said how it's fine when it comes to adults, and then she says she attacks a man who decides to get like top surgery or something. She's literally
that's because they have no
double-speaking, of
agency.
course.
Trans people have no agency. They have no ability to determine their own lives. The only reason they're doing this is because of like the liberal orthodoxy that is being imposed upon them. If she actually spoke to a trans person, then maybe she would be able to have a different perspective on that. But suddenly, Caitlyn Jenner is no longer on the short list of people they want to speak to about this issue.
I mean, supposedly you can't say anything online, but you can say all that. Like, I feel like that's the kind of thing that, if we had like a list of things you couldn't say online, like misinformation about the Holocaust and who was killed, would be on that list. It's on the list of a lot of countries and you can't say online, but it's kind of just evidence that you can basically say whatever you want online up until it's, it affects the bottom line of whatever platform you're saying it on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And also, I wouldn't call, I wouldn't have a problem with people calling Matt Walsh a Nazi or a fascist. He, in his bio, calls himself a theocratic fascist as some sort of joke. I would call him a Confederate, though, and I think we should need to use that more and understand the homegrown nature of sort of white supremacist reaction. Here's a little clip of a Matt Walsh from a while ago. We can find that journalist later, but jumping on a pogo stick in a Confederate T-shirt.
What are you guys doing?
Showbreak! Get out! Leave! Close the door! Bring me pancakes!
Is this that
little bit,
backrooms meme everyone's talking about all the time? Like a backrooms type deal?
The backroom thing, right?
Can you imagine? Yeah, you're wandering through
Those
the back rooms
monsters you see in the back rooms, right?
yeah, you're wandering through the back rooms for 3 hours and you come across that.
It's also, I just gotta say too, it really is rich within weeks of her defending the anti-Semitism of Kanye West, for her to now have concern about or at least try to claim like the Nazi ideology is running rampant among trans acceptance. It is interesting what kind of like historical repeats from the Holocaust that she's apparent, and this one's fictitious obviously, but that she's interested in reassessing.
It shows a commitment.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a report 2018 that
Reaffirming, I should say.
Kanye wanted to name his album Hitler. Now, I don't know if that's true. I'm willing to believe it, given recent track record.
He just thinks it's shocking, so he's like, oh.
No,
like,
there's a report that
Hitler?
says there's been a report from people, sources close to him, that apparently he has over the years spoken out about how much he admires Hitler and the Nazis.
Great.
That just came out.
I mean,
this isn't a new thing apparently.
Do you think he's not having that conversation with Candace Owens?
Mm-hmm.
Like, absolutely. Like, I'm close with Candace Owens. I'm going to wear a White Lives Matter t-shirt. I know she's gotten into this about Hitler was fine until he crossed a border issue. Of course, like Candace Owens is like, and I'm kind of shocked by it. Like how dumb you have to be to let Candace Owens ruin your life like this. And I mean, maybe, I guess I want to back off a little bit because I think I forgot about the mental illness component of this, but it's just like, it's wild to see her have this effect.
But at the same time, it's like, you know, I have empathy for that, but I can't have empathy for the wild.
There's something more there though. Like, you know, there's plenty of mentally ill people who do not do this. I mean, this isn't come with the package. Certainly you could acknowledge there's certainly mental illness issues there without having to, hold back from the fact that this is also who Kanye seems to be.
I think sorry to interrupt real quick.
You were not, no. Go ahead.
Real quick to I guess both Matt's point, I would just highlight, on the, on the back end, Candace Owens and a lot of people like her are like working their hardest to like, redefine what happened in the Holocaust and why it was a problem. They're working their hardest to redefine what like the issue with Nazism was, because again, Nazism and fascism are incredibly discredited within our society just by name. And it's difficult when you have those ideologies to like, launder those talking points into society. And I think that one thing that as a society we've failed to grapple with is like the actual causes. We talked about this on the trips ago of the Holocaust, and how a lot of the component pieces for what led to that genocide existed within our society, within American society and Western culture generally, and continue to exist. It's because we dismantled the Nazi state and we dismantled explicit Italian fascism at the time doesn't mean we did any real reflection on what caused those things. And a lot of them were the genocidal experiments of the Americas. They were the genocidal experiments of the Africas. They were mixing with the anti-Semitism that was inherent to European society. Yes, but the Industrial Revolution gave a lot of gear and steam to that. Not steam, I guess is an ironic thing to say, but a lot of steam to that movement as well. So we just haven't, as a country or a society, had a reckoning with it. Had the fact that the Holocaust and the Nazi state weren't anomalies of modernity, that they were deeply, in fact, rooted in what we consider to be modernity in Western culture. And on the other end, with Kanye West, obviously the mental illness is a factor, but I think you have to also like loop Kanye's, like the things that Kanye West has become like hyper focused on with his like his cohorts, the Dave Chappelle's, the Joe Rogans. And I think that there is, I think there is something to be said about a lot of celebrities becoming like stagnant in whatever year they became the most popular. And so there are just a lot of celebrities that became very popular in the early to like mid 2000s, and they're just stuck there. They cannot understand why movies like The Hot Chick are not funny anymore. They cannot understand why you can't, like, Rob Schneider's trying to understand why it's not 2017 anymore. And for a lot of those people, like, they've maintained some levels of success. Few of them have been successful the entire time, but they're, they haven't evolved with the times, and they're just demanding that no one else do it either.
And I think there's something kind of timeless about this. I'm reminded of when Bowie was going through, I think, a lot of addiction issues in the 70s, was also coincided with him going in an interview saying, I support fascism and Adolf Hitler was a rock star. And as a David Bowie fan, not my favorite phase of his career. And I think that's something to do with being a sort of celebrity individual for a long period of time is not good for anybody. And I don't know. It's
well,
depressing.
you have an entourage that is going to continue to be on your payroll until that money dries up, and they'll yes you until they're gone, and then by then it's too late for you. And that's what's going to happen with Kanye.
I mean, people are still trying to craft reasons why Kanye needs to be treated differently. And I think a lot of times it becomes less about the mental illness for a lot of people and more about this, people want to believe there's such a thing because a lot of people find themselves working that 9-to-5 grind as like fuck you money, that, that you can get to a level of wealthy and successful that allows you to just like basically become, completely untouchable within our society. And, maybe some people are like that in terms of what they're allowed to get away with. But, we've seen this happen before. I remember when Mel Gibson got totally blacklisted for like his tirades, and people were pretend like that just didn't happen because they want to pretend like Kanye West is the first person to ever do this in modern history.
Yeah,
right. I've seen a lot of that. People bringing up other celebrities who actually did face consequences for their actions years ago, all being used as like the example of how people get away with it. It's just not true. Like, there's a reason. Like, I do know Mel Gibson's attempting a comeback now.
Yeah,
I heard he's doing like just now, and I don't think that should even be happening, but he did face some pretty serious consequences. The guy was one of the biggest actors in Hollywood who pretty much disappeared for the past decade because no one wanted to work with him.
No, but then he did that movie with Jodie Foster like 5 years after that. I don't know.
And she was excoriated over that. I remember she got a lot of shit for that.
Yeah.
I mean,
I like Jodie Foster.
Gibson was huge.
But
I think people don't realize how big Mel Gibson was.
Yeah, he was the guy in every movie. Like, he was the one. Do you guys
remember that movie, What Women Want? I know, Brandon, you remember.
Oh, of course. Like, we were all young boys at that time, so I think that movie was particularly.
I mean, I watched it. Yeah, right. It was.
You have to understand how hard it is for me to not watch that movie or as part of one of my rewatches just because he's in it. That's very much the kind of thing that I specialize in watching.
I mean, come on, Helen Hunt. Helen Hunt's.
The movie is so bad.
Treasure. It's a terrible movie.
Yeah, that's the cure for incels.
That's the kind of thing that they want to bring back. That's the kind of thing that people who peaked in 2003 think that we need to be doing again. So you're like, okay, no one even looks back on that time. Yeah, this is what they took from us. It's just like we took like Rob Schneider movies, and it's like, oh my god, come on! It's like no one's even canceling Rob Schneider. Like no one is trying to like even relitigate that time period because it's just like, things just sucked then. Like.
It's funny this is what they took from us, like Roman architecture and then like Pokemon Game Boy games and Rob Schneider movies. I think that's just because, every so often you'll have people who claim to be into like philosophy, like on the right, but you always notice that their love of philosophy ends after like World War II, because that's when people start like to really be critical of Western culture and philosophy and large trends like postmodernism, post-structuralism, et cetera, critical theory. And so that's when they stop being interested in like, philosophy like Ayn Rand and start becoming interested in like, popular culture and like the little remnants of like problematic stuff that you could really find.
Right.
But the funny thing is, like, with those "this is what you took from us" memes that use the 90s as an example is like, actually what happened was like you just grew up. Like, I'm sorry, you got older. Nothing's gone. Like, literally. Yeah,
responsibilities came.
Just have kids. I had kids, and I am rediscovering things that I was into when I was younger that are still there.
But
and
part
in fact,
of it is though,
there's more of it there too. Like all the games I was into, there's even more of it and more
emulator.
Yeah, it's like more than ever before. Like literally, you just grew up. Sorry, Emma, go ahead.
No, it's okay. I interrupted you first by accident, but like it just is. It's more than that though, because like the movies that Brandon is describing here, they just don't hit in the same way, and I feel like it gives people a certain amount of anxiety if they still have nostalgia for it. You know, movies like The New Guy. Do you remember that movie where in the first 10 minutes the school principal like breaks the guy's dick in half, and so then he can't get the girl? Do you know what I'm talking about?
I remember that movie. I don't remember that part.
DJ Squalls is in that one.
Yeah, DJ Qualls.
Yes,
DJ
right,
Qualls,
right.
yeah.
Like it's just every single like comedy that had comedies had like some sort of budget. They all appealed to nerdy white men, and that was like what popular culture was. And now it's not that way anymore. And so you know, people have to move on.
You can't paint a super broad brush. I don't want to get too down on the popular culture thing, but because like comedy movies of the early 2000s, I think just broadly were not very good. That's a broad brush, but like even romantic comedies started to be really bad around that time. Like that's when you get your 13 going on 30s, which people have even more nostalgia for. But like those kind of
That's
make
a
it
bad
feel
movie,
a little
even
better.
though
There are
I
a
do,
lot.
yeah.
A lot of those movies are bad, and so like, people don't tend to look back fondly on that era of like time. So it's funny for people to be like, everyone has their guilty pleasures, but like the landscape back then of comedy movies, you kind of have like a dark age until you get to like Judd Apatow and like Will Ferrell, I feel like, and then things kind of more consistently get all right.
Now that you say that, the 90s are really where the romantic comedy genre lived, and then they were kind of grasping at things in the mid 2000s, trying to reclaim that. Now romantic comedies basically just don't exist anymore.
In that era you were mentioning, Brandon, I usually was able to tell if it was going to be good if Paul Rudd was in it. If he was, then it was going to be a good movie. If he wasn't,
right.
I don't think hit or miss. Maybe what's his face, Mark Ruffalo, but then you knew it was going to be more of a female tinted romantic comedy than a male tinted romantic comedy.
Late 90s, I think, late 90s or 2000 comedies were defined by like Adam Sandler and Friends, like the SNL cast from the early 90s, all getting their movies and being allowed to like evolve some characters, and they all were like, pretty bad. I mean, I think the standout of that era is like Ben Stiller movies. Like Ben Stiller kind of maintains like a good quality of movie. He's in a lot of movies with Drew Barrymore at the time. Zoolander's great, but other than that, like come on, I feel like there was like an Adam Sandler or Adam Sandler's Friends movie out every month.
Yeah, I mean,
Master of Disguise.
Yeah. Someone's writing in saying that, Bros is a good new romantic comedy. I just saw that in theaters.
I haven't heard it or seen it.
Wait, you went to the movies to see romantic comedy? People don't do that anymore.
I went with
the new Billy Eichner.
It was terrible.
Right.
Like I feel badly because I understand that it did not do well at the box office, and I was just like, my friend and I like to go to the movies together, so we decided to see that. It was Billy Eichner I've met him in person. Well, I'll just say he was a total dick when I met him in person, and so it kind of
separate from like his persona.
But I mean, it's kind of the same.
It's just him.
And he was just not nice to me. Yeah. And then I saw the movie and I was like, okay, like I don't really think he's that, he doesn't seem like that appealing of a leading man. And I was right. It was just like, but I thought it would be way funnier. I could not wait for it to be over. And
So Emma, are you appearing on the Daily Wire tonight to give your review about Bros?
It's unfortunate because I really wanted to like it, and I liked, I liked Fire Island, which was another like gay romantic comedy that came out so much better. This one was just, it was bad in my opinion. But anyway.